Hello everyone and welcome to Photo Finds. I'm your host Gavin Hatch. This is episode number 103 and I am so excited for this week's episode because I have not been to Islands of Adventure with you guys in quite some time. I have not taken some photos over there, so I decided to go ahead and go there early in the morning, right at park opening, and get some really great shots and just walk around the park before it got super crowded with these spring break crowds, and it was really enjoyable. The parks are beautiful and completely different when they don't have a lot of people in them, and you really notice a lot of things which we'll talk about today. Now, one of the biggest reasons why I have a huge interest in going to theme parks and reading up and watching things about theme parks is that the history aspect of it. I love how they bring new things in. I'm always excited for the new stuff, but I really am always also interested in what used to be in the parks, things that I grew up with and things I never got to experience for myself. The history of parks is so fascinating because, again, they're always changing, they're always evolving. They have to keep the turnstiles turning, so they always have to bring in new and relevant stuff, and that just always fascinates me. Now, what does that have to do with the sign that we're looking at right here? Well, this is a really interesting story. Now, if you look at this sign here for the Trading Company store, which is the main store at Islands of Adventure, it's in the port of entry. It's kind of like their version of the Emporium. Every theme park has one, you know, a main store that you can go into that's always open the latest. On the way out of the park, you can go in and grab something that you forgot to get during the day. So this is the Trading Company store. The official title of it is Universal Studios Islands of Adventure Trading Company, as you can see on the sign. But this park is not called Universal Studios Islands of Adventure, it's simply Universal's Islands of Adventure. But for a lot of you, you never experienced this park back when it was actually called Universal Studios Islands of Adventure. So here's the story behind that. Now, the park opened up in 1999. Back in the late 90s, the whole resort was going through a major rebranding and expansion. It was, of course, originally just one theme park. It was Universal Studios Florida. And then in 1999, what they went ahead and did is they opened up the second theme park. It was Islands of Adventure, but the resort, of course, since there was two parks now, they just couldn't call it Universal Studios Florida anymore. They called it Universal Studios Escape. Now, this was something that they wanted to do because they wanted to set themselves apart from Disney. They didn't want guests to think that they were copying Disney and calling it Universal Orlando Resort. So they went ahead and called it just Universal Studios Escape, and it wasn't the best idea. I like it, but a lot of guests really were confused by it. They thought the Islands of Adventure was simply going to be just a themed land inside Universal Studios Florida. They didn't understand that it was a second theme park, a huge theme park. So when they opened up, though, it was Universal Studios Islands of Adventure, you had Universal Studios Florida, and then you also had Universal Studios City Walk. So today now it's just Universal City Walk Orlando, and then of course you have Universal's Islands of Adventure, and of course Universal Studios is the same. But there are some aspects of, or some merchandise in some areas of the resort that you might be able to find the original logo that we're looking at here, where it says Universal Studios Islands of Adventure. Now, going back to this picture that I took the other day, this, of course, is, you can tell since it hasn't been switched out, this is the original sign. Of course, it's been painted and refurbished and cleaned over the years since the park opened in '99, but this is the original sign. This has been here since opening day, and this is showing just the original, title of the park. And going inside the store, you will find, if you look on the floor, I didn't take a photo of it though, but I will in the future, and this might be something you just might want to go and look for yourself, but on the floor, when you come into the store, there's all kinds of tiny little tiles that create the logo of the park. And it's the same compass, the same Islands of Adventure logo and design, but it does say Universal Studios on it. So it's really interesting that they did not change that out, and I wonder how long that will be there for. But one day, of course, they're going to eventually remove it. So take pictures of it, take pictures with it, and if you were at the park when it opened up in '99 and remember being in Islands of Adventure back on the opening year, I would love to hear your stories, so comment below. Now, one of my favorite things about Islands of Adventure is the Lagoon, because the Lagoon, all the different lands, the theme lands, or what they call islands, have their own kind of viewing area for the Lagoon, and just an area to it's built so if there is ever a Lagoon show, and they used to do Lagoon shows actually, but it's designed so if there is a Lagoon show or something going on in the center of the park, all the guests can go. It doesn't matter if you're in Marvel or if you're in Toon Lagoon or Jurassic Park or Lost Continent, Seuss Landing, you can all go to the Lagoon area and get a great view of what's going on there. Now, of course, these days they don't use it for anything. The Lagoon is just there for show, but they don't do any activities or anything like that, entertainment inside the Lagoon. But you can still walk to the of course, the edge and get some great, beautiful views of Hogwarts Castle and of the Discovery Center in Jurassic Park and of Seuss Landing. So this is one of my favorite areas to get some really great photos and also just escape from the crowds because it's never crowded down here. So you can kind of get away and just take a breather if the park is way too crowded from you, or for you I should say. But it's also a nice area because you can really hear all the music, the area music for the lands that were made and created just for this park. All the music that you hear playing throughout the different lands, except for Harry Potter, was made just for this park when it opened up in '99, and they still play it today in all the lands, and it's really a great musical score. Now, while we're on the subject of music, now this is something, again, I would highly recommend doing when you come to the park. If you can get here right when it opens up, then I would highly recommend coming through and walking through every land as quickly as you can before it gets too crowded and too loud, because all the different people walking around you really take away from the experience. Because if you are by yourself walking through here, you can really just find the smallest details in not only the visuals and things that are painted on the buildings and just all that kind of stuff that are visually there, but also the audio. The music is just so cool. Now, walking through Toon Lagoon, it's not the most detailed land, but it is still full of lots of things to look at. But walking through here, if you listen to the music that's going on, there are different songs that play in the area that it sounds like it's just one song. But as you walk up to each individual building and different characters from King's Road that you see, such as Betty Boop, they're all singing. They're all singing together, but they're all singing their own lyrics, and at different times it's all just put together very well, and it's really interesting. I don't know if I'm explaining it to the best of my ability or explain this to where y'all can understand it, but it's one song, but they all have their own lyrics and they all take their own turns singing this song. It's all the same kind of beat, and it's just really a cool experience. Again, something that you really don't hear or notice, I guess, if it's really crowded. But if you can get here in the morning and walk through here, I highly recommend it. Take advantage of staying at an on-site hotel and doing the early park admission. Now let's walk over towards Popeye and Bluto's Bilge-Rat barges. Now over at Me Ship the Olive. Me Ship the Olive is a really cool interactive indoor-outdoor playground area for kids, and they are playing on this ship here that of course belongs to Popeye, and they can have so much fun in there. But if you keep walking, you'll notice there are signs that will take you down to just the lagoon viewing area, and this is really cool because you can walk down here and you will see that's huge. There's a whole bunch of different walkways and stairs, and it is accessible if you're in a wheelchair, so there is ramps everywhere. But this is a huge area right here that is so secluded and so quiet and peaceful. Of course, there's the music playing from the area, the Popeye music, but it is still really just like over in Port of Entry and all the other lands. They all have this viewing area, and it's so secluded. It's just really a fun area to go to, and there are details and different theming elements. I love the theming in the park, especially Islands of Adventure. They spare at no expense. You just go in there and you can walk around and see all kinds of stuff, which I'll show you. But the reason why this is here, a lot of you might be saying that's a lot of wasted space. That's something, they can probably do something with that. This used to be part of, they used to have the Island Skipper Tours attraction in the park. So when the park originally opened, there were actual, I think 2 or 3, I'm pretty sure there's 3, but I know there was at least 2 boats that would take you through the lagoon at Islands of Adventure. You can get on it over in you can get on it from all around the different docks around the park, but it'd be best to start over in the front at Port of Entry, and it would take you around the lagoon, and you would hear, just all kinds of spiels about the different lands. It was all themed, and the boats looked really cool. They were all themed to the Port of Entry, and you could get dropped off here in Toon Lagoon at Popeye, and you can also get dropped off over by Jurassic Park, and that dock is still partially there, which is, I'll show you here. So it's just really interesting that these boat tours used to go on, and they took them away. They didn't last too long, but it's still a really cool element that I wish they would bring back, an attraction they would bring back. But I understand the reasoning probably for getting rid of it, but it is something that kind of it's benefited us today, because we can now come into the parks and we have these areas that are not really, I don't call them wasted spaces. I think it's a great area. I love coming here, not only when it's opening in the morning because it's just beautiful, but just any time in the parks when it's crowded, you can come back over here. Now look at the detail of this. You can see that there is some really cool details and theming to the characters. So you can see the mailboxes here on the waterfront for Popeye and Olive Oyl and Wimpy. So it's pretty interesting. You can see that they have some bills that are overdue, and it's the details like this that a lot of guests don't get to see and take the time to stop and appreciate and notice, because of course when you're in a theme park, especially if you're not from here and you don't get to go very often, you're going because you want to make the most of it and get on the rides. But not everything here is about the rides, so take time to just look at the details and go slow and relax. That's why it's always good to be here for multiple days. Don't just focus on doing one day at a theme park. You need a couple of days. But there's also like a ship over here, or a boat I should say, that is way too small for this huge anchor, so of course it's being tipped over. It's really cool. Now one of my favorite reasons to come back here is because I'm a big attraction person. I love rides, and I think it's so neat that you can come back over here and kind of get a different perspective of the Popeye and Bluto's barges. You can look at the ride vehicles as they're coming through, or not ride vehicles, but the boats as they come through here. And it's really interesting because the kids can go up onto the Me Ship the Olive and can get the guests wet down below, and they don't charge for that. So the kids and adults can go up there, and you have these like water cannons, and you can get guests wet on the ride below, but they don't charge you for it. So that's kind of cool. And there's all kinds of different effects going on, different audio animatronics and things like that. So it's really interesting to see that over here. And then there is some beautiful camera areas. So you can, if you are a camera person, if you like taking pictures and getting some great video and footage of things in the parks like this, you can get some great shots of like the Hulk and Marvel Superhero Island from over here. And this is the sun rising on the other side here. So this is the sun coming up. It almost looks like it's dusk, but it's not. It's the sun coming up in the morning, and it's just a really cool, beautiful area to come. Grab a cup of coffee and relax over here into Lagoon. Now, if you're a fan of Rocky and Bullwinkle, Wasamata-U is where you would go to get Rocky and Bullwinkle merchandise, but this store is not selling any merchandise like that. This is strictly just a store to go get Secret Life of Pets merchandise. This has been here for quite some time now, since the movie came out, and I'm a big fan of the movie. I loved it. It was really cute characters. So if you're a fan of it, you can come here. This is a great place at Universal Orlando to come and get all kinds of different merchandise. Now this merchandise is of course sold all throughout the parks as well, so this is not the only location, but it is just one-stop shop if you want to get shirts and cups and mugs and backpacks and all that kind of stuff that is related to Secret Life of Pets. Now Universal Orlando is in the process of switching out all the pricing boards for food and merchandise locations outside the kiosks like this. They are switching them over to digital boards, or I guess digital monitors, so TVs, and they are all themed of course to the areas, and this looks really nice. This is over in Jurassic Park obviously, and I think it's a great idea because if the prices are going up or going down, or if certain items are discontinued, they don't have to go throughout the entire resort and have the sign shop that they have, create a whole new sign. So it's going to save them money and labor, and it looks better as well. It's better presentation having, the prices there, but also they can have another monitor, as you can see, with different like advertisements and pictures and stuff of Coca-Cola or whoever they want to sponsor or promote, I should say. So it's really cool. It's a good idea, and it looks great. A few weeks ago, the media outlets in the area were invited to Universal to taste the food for Volcano Bay when it opens up on May 25th. So they got to preview all the tasty food, desserts, drinks, all that stuff that's going to be in the park when it opens up, and it looks fantastic. And there's a ton of options for food. Now, I did not get to go. I was not there, so I'm not going to give you a review of all the food, but I did get to try two things. I got my hands on two things. The coconut curry chicken, and I have to tell you, this is delicious. So it's pretty much chicken with this great sauce with vegetables, tomatoes and peas, white rice that was cooked perfectly. Everything was cooked perfectly, and they had just had some coconut, looked like it had been sauteed, like coconut crumbles on there, and it was not overpowering. And then there was some delicious plantains in there, and I had never really had plantains. It's been a while, but very long time, and it was delicious. And then also I got to try the lava cake. I'm not a huge chocolate person, but I was in love with it. It's a little too small. I want bigger bites, but it is really good. and it's just delicious chocolate. It's running, it's warm, it melts in your mouth. It's fantastic. So I'm very excited for the food. The rides look great, but the food is really exciting because there's a lot of options and it's all themed to the park and it's exclusive for the park. You're not gonna be able to buy this stuff over in Universal Studios or Islands of Adventure. So Volcano Bay opening up May 25th. Don't forget, be there this summer. It's gonna be fantastic. Well, that will do it for this week's edition of Photo Finds. I hope all of you have a great week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a wonderful Easter. Make sure you subscribe to Attractions Magazine. And of course, until next time, make sure you get out, you have fun, and you enjoy those parks.